What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to look at some more Steam Summer Sale games and which ones you maybe should pick up ASAP before they go back to full price. I got some more bangers here. In my last video I did a few different games and it seems to go down pretty well. You seem to agree with me on that one. I tried to do some mainline games where people may not have played before, but they're just like kind of like mainline mainstream games like Fallout and stuff. And I kind of tried to throw a few little indie games in there. But today's video, I'm going to try and throw some maybe games that you haven't really played before, alongside some games which are pretty obvious, but again, for some people who have never played them before, they're still going to be amazing games. So, without further ado, let's have a look. First game I've got written down here is Dishonored, Game of the Year Edition. I recently finished Dishonored again on the Steam Deck, around 2 months ago now, and yeah, it's probably one of the smoothest experiences I've had on the Steam Deck. Solid 60 at the highest settings. It's a relatively old game now, but it looks amazing. It has a great art style to it. I mean, Arcane did the game. Sadly, not a massive fan of their newest title, but you know, their old titles are banging, especially the next one I'm going to talk about after this. But yeah, Dishonored Game of the Year Edition. So you play as Corva, who's an assassin slash bodyguard. You're protecting the princess until she gets kidnapped, and then you have to go and find her, and then the plot ensues and you're basically thrown into like a political battle in Dunwall, which is like the fictional town and city, and you're basically turned into an assassin who has to help some guys out. I don't want to spoil too much of the story, but yeah, you're basically helping people by murdering targets, but it's not as simple as it seems. The actual parkour and movement and the traversal of the game is phenomenal. I keep saying this in every video that I play Dishonored in, or when I talk to my friends, like, the blink mechanic in Dishonored is one of the best traversal mechanics I've used in a game. I just love it, especially when you upgrade it to get the longer range. You can just grapple up buildings, you can just fly up to people. It's great, honestly, especially on the Steam Deck. You're getting a really nice battery life out of it, and yeah, it just runs super smooth, and it's a solid game. I wouldn't recommend really diving into Dishonored 2 on the Steam Deck. I've done a video on that and the performance is a bit iffy. You can kind of get a lock 30 at like medium, or maybe if you try and mess about a little bit you can get high at 40, but yeah, there's a few inconsistencies with the gameplay, and it's hard to recommend on the Steam Deck because it's also pounding the battery life as well. You're not going to get a lot of battery life out of it, but yeah, by all means check the second one out. It's still a great game, but it just doesn't run as well as the first one does. So yeah, that's Dishonored Game of the Year Edition, which then will give you the DLC Death of the Outsider as well, which is also a nice little bonus to play after you finish the main game. So there you go. Moving on to an indie game, I'm going to go straight to an indie game. Firewatch. I did a video on this a couple of weeks ago now, maybe it was last week, I can't keep track of time recently. And yeah, you play as a dude who's literally just accepted the job as a Firewatch guy in an American wilderness somewhere. I don't know the exact location, I can't remember, I haven't played it in a while, but yeah, he's trying to get away from something in his main life, trying to remove himself from the situation and take his mind off it, I guess. And yeah, you're basically playing as a Firewatch. That may sound boring, but it actually is very entertaining, and the actual graphics and the art style is gorgeous, especially with the sunset areas. And yeah, it's just an extremely fun indie game. Won't take you much to complete, but it costs £3, and yeah, £3.74. And I forgot to mention how much Dishonored is, although it was on the screen anyway. That's £3.19, so absolute bargain. But yeah, Firewatch, not going to take you as long to finish, but storyline wise, phenomenal storyline. It's got some great twists and turns, and yeah, just the overall gameplay itself is just very unique and fun. Some may say a walking sim. It's more than that. It's got a lot more to it than just walking around, but yeah, there you go. And I'm going to jump back into mainstream games. Portal 2. Some of you have probably already heard of this game. I mean, all of you should have heard of it. Like, it's Valve's, like, one of Valve's main games. It's like one of Valve's best games. I'd probably say it was my favourite Valve game, except Half-Life 2, but yeah, and considering Half-Life 2 was out before I was into PC gaming, it's like Portal 2 is my like main, I guess you could say Portal 1 is really, but Portal 1's kind of short. But yeah, Portal 2, phenomenal puzzle game. If you like any kind of puzzle game, if you just like puzzle games in general, Portal 2 is a must buy. It's £1.43. literally £1.43. It's the fattest deal you'll ever get. It is a relatively older game. I think it came out in like 2012 and 2013 or something around there. But it's funny, it's challenging, it's very unique, and the actual game itself runs like butter on the Steam Deck. You'll get around 45 hours of battery life at high settings, and it looks insane. It looks perfect. Portal 2 also has Stephen Merchant voicing one of the guys in it, so yeah, if that tickles your fancy a little bit, it's very funny, like I keep saying. Portal 2, if for some reason you've never heard of it before, definitely check it out. It's an amazing puzzle game, as you can see from the clips here. I can't explain how the puzzles work properly without giving away some of the different exciting things that you find in it, but just know that you have a gun which fires portals, and then you have to get from point A to point B. Yeah, and you have to do that with the gun. That's basically it in a nutshell, but intertwine a funny sci-fi story into there it's fantastic. Next game I'm going to talk about is a bit of a strategy game, so if you're not a fan of strategy games, you can skip on to the next one. It's Civilization 6. This one is for all the strategy guys out there and girls who just love taking their time with something, and yeah, you're basically playing as a civilization. Like, I think there's tons of civilizations. Let's just say George Washington is one of them, and he leads the American civilization, and you basically start from scratch at like 0 BC, and you build your civilization up alongside a load of other people who are building in the same world as you, AI or online, depending on what you want to do. And you have resources, you can commit policies to people in your cities. You can focus to build armies to destroy people, or you can focus on building science to get the scientific outcome and build a rocket. It's basically who can progress this civilization the furthest, and or who can destroy the other people. It's a fantastic strategy game. Civilization 5 is my go-to, but for some reason that doesn't say it's on sale at the minute, so I'm going to recommend Civilization 6. It's more in depth, but some features have been taken away which I prefer from Civilization 5. I've got more hours in Civ 5, so I just can't. It's probably me just not wanting to learn Civilization 6. So yeah, I do like playing both though. But yeah, Civilization 6 has like a hexagonal board as well, actually, where that was introduced in Civ 5. Yeah, ignore me. Anyway, yeah, so Civ 6, fantastic strategy game if you want to just take your time with something and yeah, destroy people as Gandhi, as a lot of people like to do in the game. So yeah, there you go. I've got 2 more games for you, and then we will call it a day. Basically, Civilization 6 was £7.49, so a little bit on the pricey side of today's video, but by all means that is an extremely good price for what you're getting in gameplay value wise. Next game is another game by Arcane. It's actually Prey. This is a sci-fi game which is set on a spaceship. I believe it's set on a spaceship, correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, you're basically how do I explain it? It's a sci-fi game, there's aliens on the spaceship, and you have these amazing different tools, and there's multiple different ways you can go about finishing levels or finding bits of information. And yeah, if things gone wrong and you can't remember anything, and you're trying to remember things by watching videos back, and it's twisted, the narrative gets twisted because your brother keeps telling you things, and then yourself from the past is telling you things, which is messing everything up, and you don't know who to believe. But then you've got like these aliens who you need to kill, and you've got this glue gun which can freeze enemies, and you can actually morph yourself into enemies. It's really cool. If you like sci-fi games and you're a fan of Dishonored, definitely check out Prey. Phenomenal game as far as sci-fi games go. Definitely recommend it, and it works great on the Steam Deck as well, as you can see from the gameplay. And that will set you back £6.49, so not too much. And the last game I want to talk about is an absolute steal, Sleeping Dogs, or basically GTA in Hong Kong. It's an amazing free roaming triad style gang game where you're playing an undercover cop, and you are basically infiltrating the triad in Hong Kong, and you're obviously get really close to them, and then the story kind of goes from there, because when people go undercover, it's never as simple as it seems, is it? So there you go. But basically, it's a free roaming game. in Hong Kong. The combat is very Batman Arkham-esque, so if you're a fan of that, then you'll be a fan of the combat in this. Counter system, you know, jumping around from enemy to enemy, and it's kind of like, it's got like interactable objects that you can smash people into, a bit like Yakuza. So it's like kind of like a mix between Yakuza and Batman Arkham. So if you're a fan of them two, definitely check it out. Like I say, it's free roaming as well, so you've got the whole map to explore, and you can do some really cool stuff like jump from car to car, a bit like Pursuit Force if you've ever played that. Yeah, that's just an awesome, like kind of like GTA set in China, in Hong Kong style game. So if you're, that sounds cool, have a look at it. And yeah, it's £2.39. So yeah, if you're anything like me, you've bought about 10 games so far in the sale and your backlog is slowly getting bigger and bigger. But yeah, if you want to see even more suggestions before the sale ends, let me know in the comments, and yeah, hopefully that helps, and I'll speak to you guys soon.